So I want to take this chance also to appreciate all of us for joining. The number today is good. And I want now to take this time to invite Percy. He's also going to tell us how he has been, how the Lord has been ministering to him, and he is going to take us through the topic of the heart of a leader. Karibu sana Percy.
Okay, thank you Mukami, and thank you everyone for inviting me to be your facilitator today of the discussion. And I can see we are already 15 minutes into our time, and therefore I may not take a long time in doing many things, but I would want to say my week has started well. I've been busy chasing a few things, unlike my other Mondays. Today I have just come home in the evening, but I thank God that everything and everyone is well. Now, let me first lead. I would want to paraphrase my task as I understand it. Number one, I was told to speak to us about the heart of a servant leader, or of a leader, and in bracket servant leadership. That is a topic that I would have expected to be invited to speak to leaders, but looking at it, I realized it has two parts to it, and therefore I gathered more confidence. Initially, I had thought that I would have wanted to alter it a little, but then looking into it, I realized that there is so much that we can talk about, and therefore I'll be talking about the heart of a leader, and more so the servant leader. Maybe let me ask us, 2 or 3 people, to tell us, to give us, and maybe to tell us of a leader who have influenced their lives, or a leader who they admire in life. You will take less than a minute, tell us who is this leader, and tell us why they have or why you admire them. A leader that you admire and why you admire them. And I do not want to, maybe let me have volunteers. 2 or 3 people would do. Let's volunteer and move. Let me ask Dinelle, and then after that, I'm looking for somebody called Samuel. Who is this Samuel? Is it Samuel that I know? I'm just speaking. So Dinelle, tell us of a leader who you admire and why you admire them. Then Samuel will pick it up from Dinelle.
All right. Thank you, Percy. I'm trying to think of a leader that I know. I can't think of any political leader. So I'm just going to say I have a friend who has been the CU chair in KU for a while, and I have admired how he did it for the period that he was the chairman, because he doesn't really look like the part, as many people have told him, but he has a lot of grace. And whenever he speaks, the one thing I really admire about him is that he only speaks wisdom that comes from the word of God. Even when sometimes you just want him to give you advice, like from his own mind. He always gives you wisdom from the Word of God with references from the Bible. So that is something. So I love his humility and that he is word centered, if that makes sense.
All right, someone can pick it up from there, and then I'm going to hear Clara.
Hello, good evening, and praise Jesus.
Amen.
My name is Sam. Technically, I was just invited by JB to be part of this meeting today. And what I'd say is my who I would perceive as a good leader for me is Moses in the Bible. How he led the Israelites amidst how they used to complain, and in his mind he had a clear mind of what God has asked him to do, and he led that purpose until the time God was took him, or rather until like he achieved his objective. So he's the type of person I'd like to emulate. Yeah, that would be it for me.
Thank you, Sam. Clara, welcome, Sam.
Okay. For me, I also have a leader, a person who I know in leadership, and it is part of the school where I am in, and this person also took part in the training that we had the last weekend. I admired the way, like, he's a leader, but when it comes even to dealing with trainees or the students, the person is so patient. When we make mistakes, ready to work with someone when you are in the wrong, working with you to the right. And now I was asking myself, when I am a leader, will I be able to put myself in the shoe of the one I am leading, so that I don't put unnecessary expectation on the people, and allowing people to grow in their own pace, so that I don't have to feel like someone is too slow or someone is too fast. So a leader is patient, and a leader is ready to lead the people to the right, so not leaving them behind.
Okay. Thank you. I think every one of us would have an experience or two. We can speak about leaders who have influenced us in different ways. We have leaders that we admire. I wouldn't make a mistake of asking leaders that we do not admire, because I'm sure those ones will be overflowing. But the challenge that I want to throw to us to begin with is that now that every one of us is a leader in one way or another, are there people who would look at your leadership and say, I admire the leadership of so and so? So to begin with, the brief that came to me had two aspects: servant and leadership, servanthood and leadership. And therefore it was combined together to bring servant leaders. Maybe I may need to ask ourselves, we need to ask ourselves the first question from the aspect of servanthood. Servanthood is the call, it is the initiative to minister or to give services to others. Now, I would want to think about, every one of us to think about one man who we all know, called Paul. Paul, a Bible character that we know, a person, a high caliber kind of a person. He's a high caliber, one who is up there. If he starts giving you his credentials, you can actually feel that this guy is not just a commoner. But then when he is describing himself, he was there he introduces himself as a servant. Over and above that, he actually, even to the point of referring to himself as a slave. Earlier on, in a different text, he says, "You know, I am a Pharisee. You know, I am a Jew. I have all the credentials that can be talked about." But then he reduces himself to the part where he says, "I am now a servant." Now, my point is, to begin with, a servant who is a servant leader starts with, it is an inner, it's an attitude or a position or a posture of the heart. So that when you look at yourself, if you are to introduce yourself as a servant or as a servant leader, you do not look at what maybe the world out here would admire. And I know many of us have, maybe the only thing we can talk about, I have gone to school, I have experience, I have all this. But would you, at one point, if you are to introduce yourself, would you look at what is it that defines you apart from your papers? It is a posture of the heart. Please put that in mind. We also see when Paul speaks about people who he is leading. Now I'm going to the servant leadership. We have seen him in the first place. He introduces himself. He describes himself as a servant and as a slave. That is a posture of the heart, irrespective of what we have. But then, because we are leading others, when Paul is introducing himself, or as he refers to those others, he speaks of his associates. Never did he refer to anyone as his subordinate. Please take note of that. I do not want to go into reading of scripture, because I know we are Bible readers and we will write down these principles and then we can refer to them. When he is talking about Aphroditus, when he is talking about Timothy, when he is talking about Titus, these are people who in every aspect and his position, he would qualify to refer to them as his subordinate. But he does not. But he refers to them as his fellow laborers. So him, he is the boss, but at no time does he refer to other people as subordinates or his juniors. In fact, in any case, if we look at his reference to Timothy, he is seeing him not just as a fellow laborer, but he refers to him as a son. That is a pointer to tenderness as you refer to other people who you could be leading. As a leader, you are tender with them and you are very, very personal. Sonship is a very, very personalized reference. It's a very personal relationship. So, Paul, a servant, Paul, a leader, but one who is tender and who refers to other people as part of what he is doing. So, Paul is a true servant, but he has no subordinates, but he is one who is who refers to others to be at one level with him, then I think I would want to leave Paul at that, but I would come to him much later. Then let me talk at this point. Let us look at what then do we define leadership to be, or what is the understanding of leadership. I will borrow quite much from one leadership guru called John C. Maxwell. When he refers to leadership, he says that leadership is influence and nothing more or nothing less. Leadership is influence. It is not anything much. It is nothing more than that. It is not nothing less than that. But then when we talk about influence, we remember you can influence people two ways. There is positive influence and negative influence. So for us to be servant leaders, we've got to influence people positively. And how we influence people that we lead, number one is what I had talked about earlier, a positive attitude towards the people that you are leading. We are leaders in different capacities. At home, in church, in the community, in the place of work. As Christians, we are already at a place of leadership. So when we are invited, or when we have that position of leadership, what is your attitude? It starts, if you've got to be to influence people positively, it starts with a positive attitude towards them. Then we need to tell ourselves, and we need to be very clear on this, that attitude is not necessarily spoken. Attitude is not spoken many a times. Na ninajua kuna watu tunaangalia tu unasema huyu ako na attitude. And I know if we were to discuss this, if I ask you among us ni nani ako na attitude, and that's not necessarily a good attitude. Tukisema mtu ako na attitude, we normally refer to the negative one. I am certain that in here we have people with attitude towards others. So the question that I want to ask us is, how is your attitude towards others? Do you create a sense of importance? Are you more important than other people? Or are you a team player, one who is influencing others positively? If we get it right at the attitude, we will get it right at any other level. So when we are leaders, or when we are servant leaders, we seek deliberately to influence people positively. Servant leadership holds influence because people are more likely to follow a leader who serves among them and serves with their interest at heart. It is very easy for me to mobilize you can mobilize even you and ask people to move towards a certain direction. But if you are not deliberate to have their interest at heart, this influence will not be positive. It can only be manipulative. So, servant leader seek deliberately to create a positive influence, And that we do by creating an interest on other people, genuine interest on other people. So seeking to create or deliberately create positive influence. Number 2, a servant leader influences by love. What do I mean by love? If we are in a program that we are working, all of us, if I genuinely prioritize your well-being as a leader, if I prioritize your well-being and your growth, then I qualify to be a servant leader, or one qualifies to be a servant leader, one who genuinely seeks the well-being of the other team members. Thirdly, a healthy leader or a servant leader seek to empower others. There are people who, if you live among them, as long as you live among them, all that they want is to pull you down. They make sure that what they are doing, nobody else can do. We keep thinking that if I am here and I am your pastor, I will make sure that the pulpit remains so well guarded that none of you will ever step into that pulpit to deliver a sermon, lest other people feel like you are doing it better than me. But servant leadership is not like that. It seeks to empower others. So it is this is a quotation from Zig Ziglar, who said that if you help people get what they want, they will help you to get what you want. And I was hoping that someone will say that I have been a good leader, but I actually don't know why you invited me. But anyway, that is not that's a bad joke. I am telling us that a good leader seeks to empower others genuinely, without any feeling of insecurity. Insecurity is the biggest pointer to anyone, to a leader who is not a servant leader. Today, if I give Mus an opportunity to preach, or Mokami, or whoever else, I am risking. What if everybody in the church feels like Dinel has preached better than the pastor? What if I feel like I have given Samuel an opportunity to present something and he has done much better than me? So a servant leader is known by how much he can empower others, not having insecurities. Then the other point that we must look at, we must also realize that a servant leader must themselves be able to serve others, focusing on others without grumbling. Can you volunteer to serve, knowing so well there are no returns for this, but I can serve others? That is a servant leader, and we have a very, very good example of Jesus Christ. I was looking at the time that Jesus washed his disciples' feet, and I know I have taught this in church, but I will risk repeating this, that they had servants. Those times and age, they had servants, and I could list more than, I think like 6-7 different servants who served the masters. The very, very best, at the top of the list, was the cupbearer. Now, the cupbearer was a slave, but he was so close to the master that he would taste the food before the master takes the food. He would eat the food like 30 minutes or an hour before, and then if you are surviving and you are okay, then the king would go on and eat, risking so that the king would not be at risk. There were other people who were attending to the throne, the second level. They were attending to the personal matters of the master. Then on and on, there are those who would do the house, there are those who would do all kind of things. But at the very lowest is the servant who would wash the master's feet. They would actually not be inside the house. Their service was right at the door, and they would not even enter the house. If you are a keen Bible reader, they would have basins, they would have like drums outside the door where people would do the ceremonial washing of feet. So that servant would be stationed there. And he would be stationed there so that when the master comes from a journey, when the visitors come from a journey, they would be there to wash their feet. So what we are saying is, Jesus was willing to take not just the form of a servant, but to take the lowest form of a servant. And he tells his disciples that for you got to redefine greatness. You've got to redefine your understanding of lordship, because the greatest among you must serve others. And that is what a servant leader would do. So the challenge is, would you be willing, would you be ready to serve others without grumbling, without complaint, but genuinely desiring that they may stand a better place, in a better place. So a genuine desire to make others better in your service is the measure of servant leadership. There is no competition. Actually, the more the people succeed who are working with you, the more you succeed. If your definition of success exclude others, you cannot be defined as a servant leader. All right? Then, I realize 1 hour is a very short time, so allow me to go very quickly. We have talked about serving others. But then, as a Christian servant leader, you cannot serve others before you get to understand the perspectives from where they are coming from and their needs. So, a servant leader must be a listening leader. They actively listen to their team members, seeking to understand their perspective and their infelt needs. So, listen to your team members. Wherever you are, the biggest challenge we are living in a generation that does not listen. Before you can even finish telling them your perspective, they have already come up with a solution. And I want to request us to practice active listening. And I must say, personally, I have not been very good in listening to people. But I have told myself that I've got to learn to listen. Can I listen to you? Hata kama unaongea. And some people will not talk a lot of sense, but then as a servant leader, you have to prove your care by listening to people. You realize I have not even come anywhere near thinking about your capacity or your ability to perform. I am actually talking the inbuilt qualities of a leader, which are way more important than your capacity. So practical applications: focus on others. Prioritize the need of others in your team before you can prioritize your own needs and aspirations. So for you as a leader, what are your priorities? Can you say that you genuinely have the priority of other people to succeed? That is one. That is a practical application. Then embrace humility. Acknowledge that others can be better than you. Many people would have a mistaken approach to leadership, that you are a leader because you are the best among the people. And so nobody can tell you anything. Nobody can teach you anything. I would want to challenge you as a servant leader. Acknowledge that others can be better than you in different areas. And once you acknowledge that, you will be able to allow someone to teach you what they know, what you do not know. It doesn't make you lesser a leader. And I wish I could speak that very, very loudly in our minds. Every one of us is gifted, but we are gifted differently. So as a servant leader, acknowledge that others can be better than you. And it doesn't make you less a leader. And this, maybe you will see a lot of it at the place of getting married. There are people who believe that because I am the man, I must know everything. That is not true. There are many things that my wife will teach me. Not now, even from the beginning when we were not married. I knew that she is good in a certain area and I cannot be better than her in everything. There are places she is clearly better than I am, and I need to give her that place and that position to teach me or to correct me, to make me a better person. You remember we talked about empowering others. A leader empowers others, and a leader empowers others by acknowledging that they can be better, they can contribute positively to your life. Embrace humility. Now, okay, we have talked about embracing humility, which I think we have talked about that. Being open to learn. Then, for a good leader, if we have to be a good leader wherever we are, we must encourage and celebrate growth for other people. Encourage growth. Encourage and celebrate growth. Help your team members to reach their full potential. And I want to speak about us now that we are young and we are yet to get married. The best way of empowering your wife is to encourage her and celebrate your growth or their growth, and vice versa. The best way of empowering your husband is to encourage and to celebrate their growth. That is leadership. Otherwise, if you are insecure, and I have seen families who have been brought down by just the insecurity of the leader, who is the husband, that because my wife has gotten a promotion, I start pulling her down. I start feeling like akilipa pesa mingi, mimi nitakuwa wapi? Nitakuwa hapo kwa hiyo nyumba to support her and to cause her to live to the fullness of her potential. So as a leader, you are called to, if you have to succeed, you've got to encourage and you've got to celebrate growth in your teammates. Then you are also to succeed as a leader if you set a good example. I have just talked about Jesus, how he set a good example. I was reading somewhere about that story of Jesus and the washing of the feet, and there is a story, there is a school of thought that believes that there is a servant who skipped duty that day, because like I had said, there was a servant who was supposed to be at the door. When you enter, he washes his feet. So somebody is saying, could it be that that servant skipped duty that day? He was off duty, so there was nobody at the door. So they get at the door na wanaangaliana, they get into the house wanaangaliana. Now that the servant didn't come, nani atatuosha? Who will wash? Who will wash? And finally Jesus. But I think my understanding of this is Jesus did not even wait for them to look around. He went right ahead and chose that this is my time to show my disciples what leadership is all about, setting an example. Leaders set example, and they demonstrate the value of service to other team members. I think so far we have said many things. Let me hear 2-3 people. What has caught your attention so far? Let me hear Ellie. Let me hear Mariana. What has caught your attention so far?
So praise the Lord, guys.
Amen.
So far, what has caught my attention is the qualities that have been given out about a good leader, a servant leader. First of all, the listening part, where you said not many people might be making sense at times. The tendency of a human is to switch off when you find that someone is not making sense, or you don't listen at all to what they are saying. But as you've described, we should try as much as possible to listen. So that part of a leader being a listener, and also the part of a leader, you don't actually mind. Many people may think that once someone is doing their role, then they might outshine them. So that idea of a leader not looking at that and actually giving people the platform and all that is actually a good trait. So far, those are the things that have caught my attention.
All right, thank you, Mariana.
What caught my attention is the pastor's point of view. You give a platform to your mentee na an outshine. The fact that should not make the pastor insecure, ama even to any other person who wants to be a leader. When you have a mentor who's doing really good, it shouldn't make you insecure, because you helping them, they will also help you in one way or another. Yes, that's what caught my attention.
Okay, thank you. Then we have done quite a, before we even look at our abilities to lead others and how much we know, it is also very important, if we have to lead others, we've got to be knowledgeable ourselves. We need to know, what areas am I a leader in? You cannot come and lead people when they know that you do not know what you are leading them into. So now I am actually now going to building capacity. A leader who is committed to their leadership must build their own capacity. And I'm challenging you, because at this point in time in your life, you are at a place where you, in the next few years, you will be the leaders of your companies, you will be the leaders of your NGOs, you will be the leaders of your churches. Entirely, we are already there. Some of us are already there. But then we've got to look at it and ask ourselves, what do I know about whatever I am purporting to read? You cannot be a commoner in an institution where you are purporting to be a leader. You've got to know as much as you can. So build your own capacity. How do you build your capacity? Know exactly what the company or the firm is all about. Come up with solutions, come up with ideas that can solve the problems that are existing in that company. So now we are not just talking about leadership. We are talking about now leadership that will be felt by everyone. Know the challenges, but have solutions. But the problem comes in, and I have seen this a lot, when you are too quick to bring solutions. As a leader, many people will look at that as your own project. We have this problem, and as a leader, the technicalities of how you bring it up, even this solution, really matters a lot. So if we are to suffer a problem right now where we are, and I bring a solution too fast, the challenge of doing that is that everybody else think hiyo ni kitu ya pastor niye alikuja nayo. But the practical thing that I want to throw to you is, when you have a problem, invite people's minds. Not that you do not know what should be done, but invite people. Invite Moose if he is in your team. Invite Mariana and ask them, what can we do together? What that does is that when you come up with a solution, it ceases to be your solution, it is our solution. So a leader should encourage teamwork in solving the problem. Even if you are the one coming up with it as a leader, because we have said that a leader needs to be knowledgeable, but they also need to bring others into the process. Okay? So then, as we do this, I want to challenge us that as we perform the duty of a leader, even when we know so well that we are the people who are bringing in the solutions, bring in other people with the small acts of kindness. Small acts of kindness. A leader, you can get busy with the big things, and you forget that people who are living around you, people that are serving around you, need just a little kindness. Where you work in the office, how many people do you say hi to in the morning? By name. Mukami, how are you? I mean, it is not just how are you people. I mean, if you bring in act of kindness, just a small thing of kindness, people feel like they are part of you. You are part of them. And when you do that, you will cause people to feel together as they work together and as they perform the task that is ahead of them. So small acts of kindness really matter. And then we'll learn to walk slowly when you are walking. You cannot keep banging people's shoulders as you walk, even that can be literally, but also with ideas. Don't bombard people with your ideas. Bring them slowly and gradually people will learn to accept that our leader is leading us this direction. Now, a leader is also called to motivate others. Now, you see, Jesus is encouraging his disciples to do what he has been doing. I have been preaching to you. Now go out and do the work. He motivates action. He is pushing his disciples to do some actions that he has always been doing. So if you are not motivating action among your team, you need to question your leadership. So, having said that, I'm going to read through a list of many things. And this is most a summary. I realize our time is almost up and I have quite some much to say. So we say that leadership is a task to move people from where they are to where they ought to be. That means leadership has an aspect of a vision. The vision many times comes from the leader. Has to go. People do not follow people. They follow a vision. So as a leader, I want to challenge you. Get to clearly understand where should we be? And then when you understand that, define where you are and how you want to take the people to where they ought to be and show the way. So leadership is a task of moving people from where they are to where they ought to be. And like we have said, that leadership, especially spiritual leadership, it's a paradox. A paradox meaning that when you talk about a servant and a leader, that those are not two things that can, in the worldly standards, cannot be in the same sentence. But that is exactly what Jesus wants us to see. Then the leadership, if it has to be successful, has to be accountable. If we've got to be leaders who are influencing other people positively, leadership are to be accountable. But then, accountable to who? If you are a leader and you are not accountable, number one, to God. The problem we have in our country is that we have leaders, even church leaders, who are not accountable to anyone, including to God. They can do whatever they want, say whatever they want. In any case, I'm not accountable to you, or I'm not accountable to God. Please, my dear ones, do not get there. Leadership is accountability. Yes, I am the boss, but you can ask me a question. Never be beyond accountability. Never outgrow accountability from your people and from God. Then leadership is fundamentally a people-focused business. It's people-focused. It's never, let your leadership never be about projects and programs. Focus on the people and the programs will fit in. The projects will fit in. If we are really concerned about the people will take your burden and they will look into your project positively, and they are going to make sure that they succeed. Then, because we are talking about, we are a spiritual group already, spiritual leadership needs to influence all people with the agenda of God. We need to influence our subjects or our team with God's agenda. The leader needs to be very clear. What does God want out of this team? When you understand that, what is God's agenda for this team as a leader, and you drive people towards that, you will ultimately become a successful leader. So God's agenda is paramount. And then leadership should motivate continuous evaluation of oneself in regards to the agenda that we have talked about. So as we think about leadership, we need always to constantly be evaluating ourselves, measuring ourselves against the God-given agenda. And I think because most of us, all of us really are professionals in our own way, we need to also take time to evaluate our performance in line with the company expectations. Am I performing according to the company expectations? If I am the chef of this company, am I meeting the expectations that are laid down? And then, now that we said there is no insecurity, are you able to go down and ask the people that you are leading, evaluate me genuinely? That I have found to be a very, very helpful tool. When I sit down with I do not want to call my juniors, but when I sit down with the people in my team and I ask them, as a leader, am I performing? So leadership is a continuous process of improving self and improving others. When you give people a time to evaluate you, you gain the right of evaluating them. Without that right, you cannot evaluate. If they feel like you be evaluated, you cannot be answerable, then they feel like it will be unfair for you to demand that they become answerable to you. So we have said, and this is where I want us to end this discussion, maybe as I welcome us for some reactions. Leadership can only be goal-oriented. Leadership is goal-oriented. It's clearly understanding where we are going, when we should be there, and how we should get there, and then bringing along the people with you. And that is, I think, an overview of leadership, whether it is in church, whether at home, whether in the community where we live in, and everywhere we are. That is an overview. So I have said so many things. In a big way, I'm just doing an overview of this, but I want to trust that this is something that can help us do a foundation and build up leadership that is founded, a leadership that can be beneficial to us, to our to our places of work and wherever we are. So I want to now invite us to have a discussion of what we have had and what we can do, and then I'm going to make a concluding remark. I invite us now to, let me ask Musara the brand to say something. Let me ask Alan to say something. Let me ask Mukami to say something. The three, and then we are going to wind it up with a comment or two. Musara?
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm so glad to be in this session. I've learned a lot, and just to make some highlights of what have triggered my mind, leaders must build their own capacity first before they engage with the team. And also leaders must set examples and demonstrate value, and a good leader must also be a good listener. And that is a challenge to me, a big challenge, to listen first, and then I also have to incorporate the ideas of the team. And then I've been listening so keenly, and I have been trying to draw comparisons between the political leadership and what we've been studying, and I've really come to an end that in Kenya we don't have leaders, rather we have politicians. So it is a challenge to us as the young adults, like how we can get it better, and also to make our country a place led by leaders and not politicians. I think that is what is on my mind. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let's have Alan. Let's have Mukami.
Okay.
Alan
take
seems
away
to be
home.
not there. Let's.
Okay, my takeaway home. I've been blessed by the topic and by the sharing. What I've taken home is that leadership is influenced. And my other point is that my attitude towards others as a leader, that is also something that I've taken in keenly. And also I've realized that leaders should set example. And I find that challenging. I don't know what happens when you have a leader who will direct you into this path, but when you look literally at that leader, he's doing the opposite of that. And also in form of a question, maybe it has not been there, when this question that is asked, are leaders born or are made? Thank you. Maybe you can say something about that, Percy. Are leaders born or made?
All right. Thank you, Mukami. Let me have Sophie Nesta say something. Sophie Nesta Wamushi. All right. Now that Sophie Nesta seems not to be there, let me have Dennis Mwaneki say something about what we've learned. Then we shall be going to the next level.
Okay, thank you. I have to say it reminds me a lot of my father, how he emulates many of these qualities. It sounds very, very good. And also now the leadership and the service, as you said, it comes into unison or into harmony with Jesus Christ as the example that he set when he was the one who is washing the disciples' feet, and from the reactions of the disciples saying that you are our master, I can't let you do this, let me wash my own feet, but he insists. And that's what a good leader does. He serves the people he's leading. And also the point from direction. If you're a leader, you have to be leading your people to a certain direction. can't just be a leader for the sake of it, or just to nowhere. So yeah, those two things, from service and from direction. And also, yeah, the point of now, if you're the leader of a certain group, there's some sort the sense of pride or ego that may come with it shouldn't be top, because that way you think that you are more important, so to say, you're more important than the other people, but that shouldn't be the case. Because I mean, if you take the example of Jesus, I mean, you can imagine being the most important person. You are the king, you own everything, and all of this coming together, he still chooses to serve and do it very, very humbly, with such humility. So yes, I think I'm done there.
Thank you, Dennis. So Finesta is saying she's in a noisy place, so we actually excuse her from making this contribution. Now, allow me to just finish it this way. You do realize I have not talked so much about character, but we cannot talk about leadership and skip the issue of character. The problem we have in Kenya, and not in Kenya, I think world over, are having people who are purporting to be leaders and their character does not match their word. Any successful any successful leader, or any leader who will have an impact that will last, must have a character to support the leadership in them. So I want to challenge you that leadership is a character thing. It's character based if it has to be successful. So, and what is character really? Character is what you are from within. When no one is watching you, no one is watching you, who are you? If you are corrupt, that is the person. Because as we think about character, it has a way that it filters into the system of whatever you are leading. If you are not a person of good character, that is what will filter into that. Whatever you are leading, is it a church? If you are a double character, that group you are leading will have that at the core. So as we think about leadership, let us ask ourselves, are we a character that can withstand the test of time? That makes you a true leader, then one who will be able to outlive, or their leadership will outlive them. Then we are talking about character. Character is known it is known by how we relate with others. Our character cannot just be seen, but how I relate with others. There are many people who have so many weaknesses, yet they cannot bear with their brother or their sister when they have a small weakness. So let me challenge us that character is an issue of leadership is character, and character is known in relationships. How do you relate with other people? Are you the kind of a person who will look at others when they have failed? You will go out blasting everybody. They make a small mistake and you want to imagine that you have no weaknesses yourself. The moment you imagine you have no weaknesses, it becomes a real disaster for the team that you are leading. So be patient with the people that you lead, because it is in being patient that they will also be patient with you, and it is there that you build the character of other people. Character comes in relationships. So it is in solid relationships that our institutions will stand. Finally, you cannot be a successful leader without a successor. The greatest measure of the success of any leadership is the success of the successor. If whatever you read, you are the only person that can do what needs to be done, you are a failure. Wherever you are, seek to develop people that can outsmart, that can be better than you, they can outdo what you can do, and yet they will still respect you as their leader. So are leaders made or born? That is a question. It's a lifelong question. I will answer it like this: leaders are both born and they are made. There are people who have inner character and they have inner abilities that would very easily be picked or will stand in for leadership, but that is not enough. So there is a person who seems to be developed, half baked, even before they are baked, or even they are going to leadership. They'll be the one who will take initiative, because a leader really has to take initiative to come up with solutions for issues. But that is not enough. They also need to go through the process of self-building. They have to build the capacity. So you may be born a leader, yet a failure. You may not be born a leader, and then you can still succeed in leadership, depending with the efforts that you may put in it. So leaders are both born and they are made. I don't know whether I have answered that question, but I think, okay, thank you. I see our time is quite spent, and I want to bring it to a conclusion. Maybe a question or two, then I will give it back to Mus. A question, a comment?
Okay, personally, I'm grateful for your time to remind us the things that you've reminded us and to teach us of the things you've taught us. Thank you for your time and thank you for the preparation. When I thought of this topic, I felt like we could have it in series, because I know it's a deep or a wide topic to deal with in just 1 hour and in a conversation like this. But it is so refreshing to hear again from the people that we look up to remind us of the things that we might be in the know, but it is so easy to forget. Yeah, so I'm so grateful, and tonight I'm again reminded of patience when dealing with the people who are under me, or even the people we are serving together as a team, to allow them to grow and to give them that opportunity to learn, even as I also learn from them, because actually learning is a lifelong thing. So when I'm ready to learn from someone who is under me, like now for my case, I meet the students, and being a teacher, I'm not a know-it-all person. am I ready to listen even to those students and to learn from them? So patience is the key word that came loud to me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. I must say, like Clara is saying, I had so much material, and those of us who teach, you know how difficult it is to prepare when you have such a whole material. It is actually harder to thin what you are going to leave out. I am a student of leadership. I am doing leadership at Park University, and the material that I have is so much. I have a real problem in knowing what to say and what not to say. That's why I have done it a very, very sketchy way, so that we can come from one end to another. But thank you so much, team. I want to believe that if we practice the things that we have learned, we will be able to become better leaders and improve. If I knew we could do it in a series, I would have requested us to do it in maybe a series of 3 or 4. But we have scanned through it. So before I give it to Moose, because I do not want to come back again, I am appealing
Mercy,
to us. Did somebody say something?
Yes.
What did you say, Mukami?
I was just looking for a clarification about a study in the Bible and the issue of what you've talked today, servanthood, leadership. And okay, in the story of the Good Samaritan, and the Bible talks. The story comes up after Jesus asked the people who are with him about the neighborhood. But does it also apply in a servant leadership background? That is my question. The story of the Good Samaritan.
I wish I could understand that question better. The story of the Good Samaritan and leadership. Well, I don't think I can clearly see the story of leadership development there, but maybe what I see is the story of what I had said earlier of taking the initiative. That for a leader, we cannot see problems and just leave them unattended. We cannot be a leader and live to expect other people to solve problems. Leadership is a solution giving process. So maybe on that road, when the man on his transit was attacked, a leader should have come up with a solution that is not self-centered for the sake of the other person. That's what I would say. Maybe yes, there is some leadership aspect of it, but maybe that is not the whole theme of the story. But leadership is encountering problems, but taking the initiative to solve that situation and bringing others along to share in the process of solving the problem. Thank you, Mukami. Let me now give it over to